And now, from Times Square in New York, Barbara Walters.
Good evening, and welcome to 2020. Tonight, the tragedy of September 11th, told as you have never heard it before. For the first time, overcoming their emotional trauma, two of the air traffic controllers on duty that day are able to talk about the tension in the tower and their desperation as they watched the disaster unfold, helpless to stop it. What actually happened? Chief Investigative Correspondent Brian Ross with the final terrible minutes of American Flight 77.
It's a very normal day. I seem to recall it was a beautiful day in this Washington, D.C. area. Crystal clear, very nice temperature.
It has taken 6 weeks, but air traffic controller Danielle O'Brien is now ready to talk about her September 11th.
And that particular day, I was assigned to the radar room.
Nation's 2-0.
A day when her cool, calm demeanor, handling aircraft at Dulles Airport outside Washington, would be put fully to the test.
These went from planes to people. They were blips, and now they were human lives.
At 8:25 a.m., she handled the routine on-time departure of American Flight 77 with 64 people on board, a Boeing 757 like this one. 1 hour and 12 minutes later, the plane would crash into the Pentagon.
It was just a normal flight that came through the airspace.
With what she recalls as a normal radio transmission.
American 77 Dulles approach, climb and maintain 17,000. And then I asked American 77 to contact the next controller. American 77, contact Washington Center, 120.65. Good luck.
Good luck. Do you have any idea now why you might have said good luck?
I have no idea whatsoever. It's chilling. It's chilling. I usually say good day as I ask an aircraft to switch to another frequency or have a nice flight, but never good luck.
20 minutes later, the hijacked airplanes began their deadly coordinated missions, and air traffic controllers from Boston to New York to Washington were the first to realize what was going on.
My cell phone went off, and it was an associate of mine from Boston who asked, hey, John, are you watching this on TV? And I said, yeah, I am. And he said, that's American 11.
John Carr is the president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association.
I almost dropped my coffee. I said, oh my God, what are you talking about? And he said, that's American 11 that made that hole in the World Trade Center. And I said, you're kidding me. And he said, no, and there's another one that just turned south towards New York. We lost him too. And so basically I was watching in horror, expecting to see what we all eventually saw.
At the Dulles Tower, Danielle O'Brien also saw the TV pictures from New York and headed back to her post.
Traffic, 12 o'clock.
Now to help other planes quickly land.
Speedbird 117, landing 26.
We started moving the planes in as quickly as we could. Then I noticed the aircraft. It was an unidentified plane to the southwest of Dulles, moving at a very high rate of speed. I had literally a blip and nothing more. I slid over to the controller on my left, Tom Howell, and I asked him, do you see an unidentified plane there southwest of Dulles? And his response was, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Look how fast he is.
And then I said, oh my God, it looks like he's headed to the White House. I started yelling, John, we got a target headed right for the White House.
A representation of the FAA radar scope based on information obtained by 2020 shows the plane headed straight for what is known as P-56, Prohibited Airspace 56, which covers the White House and the Capitol, at a speed of about 500 miles an hour, with no radio contact whatsoever.
Was he on a normal flight approach of any kind?
Not at all.
Full throttle?
Full out.
How far out was that plane?
between 12 and 14 miles. John, our supervisor, relayed verbatim, okay, he's 12 miles west, he's moving very fast, eastbound. Okay, guys, where is he now? 11 miles west. And it was just a countdown, 10 miles west, 9 miles west. Somewhere right in this vicinity, in this time frame, our supervisor picked up our line to the White House and started relaying to them the information. We have an unidentified, very fast-moving aircraft inbound toward your vicinity, 8 miles west.
Vice President Cheney was rushed to a special basement bunker.
7 miles west.
White House staff members were told to run away from the building.
You guys, please, all the way to 8th Street, please.
And it went 6, 5, 4. And I had it in my mouth to say 3. And all of a sudden, the plane turned away. In the room, it was almost a sense of relief. This must be a fighter. This must be one of our guys, sent in, scrambled to patrol our Capitol and to protect our president. And we sat back in our chairs and breathed for just a second. In the meantime, all the rest of the planes are still flying and we're taking care of everything else. And the plane turned back. It continued the right-hand turn, made a 360-degree maneuver.
A big loop?
Correct. And we're telling the supervisor he's turning back in. He's turning back eastbound.
Then the turn kept going. And that's when I think I yelled to John. I said, oh my God, John, he's coming back.
We lost radar contact with that aircraft. And we waited, and we waited. And your heart's just beating out of your chest. And then the Washington National controllers came over our speakers in our room and said, Dulles, hold all of our inbound traffic. The Pentagon's been hit. I remember some folks gasping. I think I remember a couple expletives.
Tears?
No, no tears. Not a single tear among us. No one broke down. No one strayed from their duties.
But with the sky still full of planes, no one knew and no one knows to this day if more planes were about to be hijacked.
The order came, get every plane in the sky in the United States. We don't care where he was going. Get them on the ground. An operations manager came to each one of us. Are you okay? Do you want to be relieved? And I said, no, let me stay. Let me get this cleaned up. We need to get these guys on the ground.
You weren't too rattled?
Not at that moment. It was a sense of urgency. It was a sense of protectiveness. It's the same protectiveness we work these planes with every day of the year. But daggone it, nobody was going to take any more. Not if we could help it.
According to FAA radar records, almost 5,000 aircraft, the green dots, were safely guided to the ground in under 2 hours, leaving behind a nationwide coverage of blue dots. Those are military jet fighters.
The air traffic controllers achieved the impossible, and it was something that had never been contemplated, something that had never been practiced, and yet they did it with professionalism and skill. I'm very proud of them.
Since then, Danielle O'Brien has gone to the actual scene to see for herself what happened.
I've been down to the Pentagon and stood on the hillside and imagined where, according to what I saw on the radar, that flight would have come. And I think that they came eastbound, and because the sun was in their eyes that morning, and because the White House was beyond a grove of trees, I think they couldn't see it. I think they couldn't see it. It was too fast. They came over that Pentagon or saw it just in front of them. You can't miss the Pentagon. It's so telltale by its shape and its size. And they said, look, there it is, take that, get that. They certainly could have had the White House if they had seen it.
In the days after September 11th, Danielle struggled hard to deal with what had happened, turning to family and then close friends for support.
I called a girlfriend of mine that evening, and I got her answering machine. And I said, you're not going to believe what I've been involved with today. And I said, you know, American 77, I saw him. I saw it all. Call me. And Tuesday evening lapsed and Wednesday lapsed, and I hadn't heard from her, which was very odd. And then Thursday she called, and she sounded different on the phone. She said, did I understand your message right? And I said, yes, it was amazing. And I started just blurting out everything. And she said, Danielle, she said, Bob was at work that day. My husband was at work that day in the Pentagon, and he's missing. Last week I went to his funeral. It's real personal.
This one?
Danielle is now taking some time off to spend with her family. She has yet to tell her two children, Kennedy and Garrett, what their mother actually experienced that day.
Kennedy, do you like this one?
And so how are you doing?
I think like the rest of the nation, I have good days and bad days.
Are there bad dreams or nightmares?
Sure, absolutely. I've sat up straight in bed many nights, reliving it, re-seeing it, rehearing it. The one that comes to mind most, dreaming of the green pool in front of me. That was part of the radar scope. It was a pool of gel, and I reached into the radar scope to stop that flight. But in the dream, I didn't harm the plane. I just held it in my hand. And somehow that stopped everything.
Oh, Brian, would that she could have.
Indeed.
You know, the plane that the brave passengers took down in Pennsylvania, do we know now where that plane was heading?
The theory is that plane was bound for the U.S. Capitol, and that this flight, American 77, was supposed to hit the White House, the terrorist 1-2 punch in Washington.
Just as they had done in New York.
Exactly.
Well,